think I let my ego get the better of me in yesterday's chest day at Planet Fitness. Felt nice and strong, so I went for 4 plates on the Smith. I think it was about maybe a little less than 6 reps or so, and it felt good at the time. But I can tell my left shoulder is feeling a little bit sore today. Now, I'm not talking like crunchy reps like that, but I think I definitely put a little bit of extra, let's just call it strain, on my rotator cuff, which probably was not necessary at all. I mean, look, mass moves mass. So the idea of lifting as much weight as I can for at least a few sets, for 10 reps, right? I like that. That sounds good. That makes me feel good in the gym. Like if I go in to do a chest day and I'm capable of, like, let's say the 4 plates for 6 reps, that's a little too heavy. Usually I'd want to aim for 8. But let's say I could do 3 plates and a 25 for 10. I think it's just a little bit of rewiring I've got to do in my brain that I should still be satisfied with just doing 3 plates for 15 instead. But, to be taken with a grain of salt, of course. I want to push it as hard as possible without overstepping into the realm of potential injury. That's pretty much how I think the heavier sets should look. And that's not like do a 1 rep max. I don't even think this needs to be said, but maybe for some people it does. In a bodybuilding context, I don't know, man, you really just have no need for doing the 1 rep max. Like, unless you're a power lifter, really, I don't know. That's kind of funny for me to say, though, because of course I used to do 1 rep maxes a lot when I was a beginner. It's just kind of, I really do think, unless you're, training dedicated powerlifting, like you're doing 5x5s and you're very, I don't want to say comfortable, but you're exposed to really low reps in a lot of your training. Like if that's your thing, nobody's ever worried about a power lifter maxing out, right? But if you're just a normal Joe and you're like, oh, I feel strong today, let's try to, I think that's just something you may need to grow out of. I'm not telling you what to do exactly, but that's just kind of how I feel about the matter. But if you really can't stand it, if you have to know, for one thing, don't do it if you think you're going to fucking hurt yourself, for sure. But if somebody wanted to do a 1 rep max and still have a good chest day afterwards, this is what I would do. So back when I would do, I used to find out what my top weight for a flat bench was way back when. But that would be the first thing in the movement. So I would, get warm, do 120, or do 1 plate for a few, 2 for a few. I can't even do 3. 3 was like the max. Maybe do like 2 plates and like a 25 for 2 or something. And then, go for the 1 single and hit it or miss it, whatever. I just moved on to starting the actual working sets after that. So if you really must know, that's kind of the best way to go about it. Get warm, do it, get it out of the way, and then do your real lift. But I think it just comes down to kind of understanding that you're not really progressing in that sense. You're testing yourself. You're getting a measurement of where you are currently, but that's not what got you there in the first place. Like it's like a performance. You don't necessarily get better by doing performance, right? You get better in practice. So in that same sense, the reason that you're X number of pounds strong on bench is because of all the actual normal lifts that you've done of legit sets. So that's me kind of maybe just saying a word of warning to any lifters who are prone to, all right, bro, do not touch it. I got this. Freaky. But basic gist, you're not going to catch me do a 1 rep max ever. No freaking chance. So I've been talking about chest. Today's back. What am I even yipping about? I'm already halfway to the gym. Back's back. I take a relatively simple approach to it. I don't think there's any magic methods. The only things, let's say, for all my lifts, I kind of have a basic framework, like a couple of just, let's just say, outlines of what the workout looks like. And one thing that I've kind of caught myself doing now is I have been doing primarily chest supported rows. Like, it's been a while since I've done my bent over barbell rows, and that's not really for no reason, you know. The reason that I've kind of been doing more chest supported stuff. Now, of course, when I do seated cable row, that's not chest supported, but that doesn't really get me in my lower back too much. But for me to do a set of heavy ass barbell rows, it just kind of tires me out unnecessarily, you know. I think the benefit from going heavy on a row like that isn't really outweighed by, or let me just sort of make this analogy. If I go crazy hard on a set of barbell rows, and if I go crazy hard on a set of chest supported machine rows, I'm not going to be so gassed after that set of chest supported rows because I'm not activating my lower back as much, if at all, or my glutes or my hamstrings. I don't have to like bend over and brace and like really hold my breath, you know. So if I'm trying to hit back, I want to do movements which just hit my back. But of course, I've gone months on months doing bent over barbell rows just because I like the movement. So there's kind of an ebb and flow of the training. You know, sometimes I like this, sometimes I don't even want to do that at all, and I'll do something totally different. It's just, you know, it's not a cut and dry thing, right? Coming to the gym, doing your lifts. It's, you're better off being, what's the word I'm trying to think of? You're better off having a reasonable amount of impressionability in the sense that if somebody sort of shows you their back workout, you should kind of be able to think, like, okay, would I like that? Well, let me kind of imagine it. Oh, well, yeah, that actually sounds kind of cool. Instead of just like, I do it my specific way and that's it. You know, that's not. To think that you know everything is to admit that you don't. You know what I'm saying? Everybody is so much better off being, I don't want to say humble. I guess kind of humble, you know. Nobody knows the best way. Let's just say it like this. So you can always improve. Don't think that you've totally mastered your training split and that it's I'm a genetic anomaly. I can't gain any more weight. Well, try some new shit. Eat some more food. Enough of this little ramble. We're getting a little bit gnarly, but you know, rows, pull downs, pullovers. Fast forward, 5 or 6 sets. Check the pump. Say holy shit, and then get home. I'm in a little bit of a rush. My family's doing an escape room. It's a prison break, so maybe I'll tell you how that goes tomorrow. All right, so I mean, I feel like I kind of have patterns of how the workout looks. Like I'll go back and forth between pull downs or upper back biased rows, but just in the spirit of changing it up. I mean, sometimes I'll kind of do my exercises in like kind of a specific order, but not necessarily for a specific reason. So I kind of want to format today's back lift. I'm not exactly sure what kind of made me want to think about it, but I kind of want to go from the top down. So start with these sort of almost trap bias rows. Like I'm still bent over, it's still just a normal row, but I'm a little bit more upright. So really hitting me everything up here. And then I might move on to, some more flat rows, and then maybe move on to more of a kind of pull down looking thing, and then finish with pull downs and just kind of gradually thrash my back from up here all the way down to here. No reason, but I don't know, feels like it's gonna work. Okay. One more. Nice. Okay. I think just 2 of those will be good. Now I gotta find some other kind of row. That was good. Nothing else to say about that. This will be a heavy one. Oh my goodness. So, that was a good set. A lot of tension on my, well, let's just call it mid-back for simplicity. But that's sort of all it was. Like when I do a set like that, I do like it. I feel like it adds to overall, let's just call it workload and intensity. But I don't want to do all my sets like that. I want to do some lighter squeezing. Though doing a combination, you know, a couple like this and then a couple with like nearly half the weight slow and controlled and burn out that way, I think a combination like that is not a bad approach. So this one will be lighter. Okay. That's a good one. Honestly, sometimes I feel like the lighter sets require a little bit less intensity in a way, and they kind of call for just a higher degree of kind of, I don't want to say pain tolerance, but I kind of do want to say pain tolerance, you know? Like, the guy who gets hyped up and like has a whiff of smelling salts before a set of 20-pound lateral raises, I don't think he's going to do any more reps than the dude who's just very comfortable with that burning sensation and can just keep going until they can't really move anymore. So some sets I want to freak out beforehand, but other sets are a little bit more zen, and you just kind of have to be comfortable with the feeling of fatigue. But I think let's just do some pull downs and that might be it. So this machine is a little light And you don't have to be a total freak for some machines to be a little bit too light, even with the whole stack. I don't think workout equipment manufacturers cater towards the 1%. But now that I'm already, fatigued and I've done 4 hard movements, sets, 4 hard sets. Now I do want kind of lighter weight. I'll sit here, squeeze it, and honestly, I think maybe just 1 or 2 of these and we can go check the pump. We're done. Okay. One more. Okay. Let's go check the pump. All right. So look, I'm not delusional, okay? I know that skill exists, but I think I could take a 150 pounder, honestly. I'm not asking for a tussle, of course. More likely than not, if I even tried to tussle around with somebody, I'd like pull my hamstring off and like rip my rotator cuff into bits. But 100-pound difference, I think that's a little bit too substantial. This is reference to the top comment of the last video. But let's just see how the freaking back looks. Let's get some spreads, get some fucking double bi shots, and then roll. So I feel pretty fucking pumped already. Oh my goodness. No. Some pretty solid width if I've ever seen it. No. No. Oh my goodness. Okay. Quick little pose down. I definitely think my traps and lats and teres major and rhomboids and everything freaking else under the sun has been well stimulated. Let's roll. Let's get in the car, god dang it. Wouldn't you believe it? Another lift under the belt. One more lift added to the pile. Which, on their own, I mean, we've all kind of heard the phrase, like, one day in the gym, you're not really going to get jack out of it. It's a very minute change. It's just, I mean, freaking, what was it? The pyramids weren't built in one day. I'm not going to go into a conspiracy rant about that. I don't know what's going on, how they built it. But getting back to actually lifting, just one day, one lift, it's not going to change the world, right? So let's say you have a shitty lift for any number of reasons. Just fatigued, maybe you had a lot of shit to deal with. Maybe you're just not in a fucking good headspace, If you're stressed out and if you're if you've got a lot of shit on your mind and you're constantly just in overdrive worrying about stuff, it's going to affect how you feel in a fucking huge degree. I try to make it a point to be as zen as possible, not get too many crazy fluctuations in like, oh crap, I gotta go do, there's so much, you know what I'm saying? I mean, some shit just isn't worth worrying about, Buddhist style. But, maybe you've got a ton of shit going on, you're not getting a ton of sleep, maybe you're sick, you're dehydrated, you didn't eat enough food, whatever. Maybe you're just in a bad mood in general. I don't know. Maybe somebody flipped you off because you cut them off in traffic and you're very upset about it. Or anything. If you have a scrappy lift, below average, not ideal. You're not going to want to have every lift be like that. But it's not the end of the world. The quality of somebody's, let's just call it overall trajectory, isn't determined by, you know, how many perfect, awesome, badass lifts they have every month. Obviously, if you have a ton, that's going to help. But, you know, let's say you had like 3 days, which were just, well, I thought I was going to hiccup. Let's say you had 3 days, which were just absolutely fucking stellar. Fully rested, you're fully fucking, it's like, whoa, those were some crazy lifts, nice. Or maybe you had 10 days like that. But if the other 20 were kind of lackluster, maybe you went easy, you slacked off, you took extra rest days you didn't need, then, your cumulative average is going to be below the bar of, as at least lower than where it could be. So it's not as though every lift has to be insane, but if every lift, you go hard, you do some good shit, you leave satisfied, at least on average, then you're on the right track. So I don't think that's groundbreaking knowledge or a fucking mind-altering statement to say, but it's worth thinking about. So I think really what I'm trying to say is if you have a scrappy lift, or maybe if you've even had a period of scrappy lifts, like 3 or 4 or even 5 in a row, don't let that discourage you, right? Everything, like I was saying on the way in here, it's kind of an in and out. Like, sometimes shit goes your way, sometimes it doesn't, karma style, whatever, right? But if you keep pedaling, you'll keep moving. You'll keep on freaking moving. Don't worry about it. So, probably enough about that. Back was good. 3 movements, only 6 sets. I was talking to some guys after the gym, or after the lift on my way out, and they're like, "How many sets do you do?" I said 6. I'm like, "What? Only 6? It's so low." I, I don't think so. I think 6 really good sets, that's within the realm of an effective lift. I think it's, I've said this before, I guess it's been a while, so it could be worth doing again. But I feel like in terms of volume, look, that's not the craziest factor. Obviously, if you do 100 scrappy sets or 1 scrappy set, you're not going to get any good results. But let's assume you're going hard on every set. Like, these are good working sets. A lot of weight, or maybe a little bit less weight, and you're really squeezing, whatever. If you do 1 set and then you leave, I'm inclined to believe you're probably better off doing 2. And if you do 2, I think you're probably better off doing 3. I don't think that, that 3 and below range is as much damage as you can handle. Like, the whole point is you want to thrash whatever muscle you're targeting to the point of maximum stimulation, but you sort of have 2, I'm trying to think, I can't really imagine this graph. You got 2 forces fighting against each other. As you do more and more volume, I think to a point you get more and more stimulation, right? Like, I know for a fact if I do 2 really heavy sets of dumbbell curls instead of just 1, I think I'm still going to be able to recover from those 2 sets and get muscular stimulation to the point which I can recover from. So how I think about it is like this: there's this sort of normal looking curve, and I think the peak is at like around 8-ish. So if you're doing 12 sets for your workout for 1 body part, or if you do 6, or if you do 8 or whatever, I think in that little realm is probably as good as you can get. And doing any more than that, like getting into 15 sets for 1 muscle group, I think you're cutting into the amount of work that you can recover from, because the goal isn't to get just sore and demolish whatever muscle you're hitting, because if that were the case, then I would just try to go on like a mild jog. I think it was either last summer or like 2 summers ago. I was feeling nice and invigorated, and I'm like, you know what, I want to go for a fucking run. So I think I went down and back on my street or something, maybe a little more than a mile. Moderate pace. I mean, I'm not really going quick, but my quads were destroyed for days because that's not something that they're used to, for sure. There's just a lot of damaged lactic acid buildup, whatever. Soreness isn't the point, right? You want to hit this shit in a specific way. So if you're getting into the realm of like 15 working sets, for one, you're probably just kind of doing easy fluff work. And I don't mean that to like rip on you. I used to do a lot of fluff work. Early on, I was doing like 25 sets per body part because I was under the volume fallacy that more was better. So if I do 25 sets of curls from a bicep workout, that's sick, right? I think I would have got the same, if not better, gains by doing, closer to 10 or maybe even 8 hard sets back then. But, that is what sort of makes me feel a little bit less strict about this kind of stuff when I talk about it. Because, sure, everybody and their fucking mom is always talking about, the perfect workout routine and like rest, pause, and myo. Um, shit, what are some other buzzwords? Um, myo rep sets, drop sets, supersets, every other fucking crazy thing going on right now. Which, it's good. I mean, it's info, it's out there. But the dude who just goes in and like has a couple of curls that he likes, maybe he likes dumbbell curls, he likes preacher curls with the easy bar, and he likes straight bar cable curls. That's just what he likes. If he goes in and does as much weight as he can do for 10 reps for 6 sets on each of those, I think he's going to beat the guy who just is trying to do a really fancy, myofibular drop working set, 10 reps in reserve. I'm not saying it doesn't work, of course. I'm definitely not trying to say that anybody who really is into that is going about it the wrong way. But I think it's just a minute aspect, right? If you can go in consistently and go hard, I mean, that's 90% of it. I think that is 90% of progress, at least in terms of the training. You can lift as hard as you want, but if you don't eat enough food, good quality sources of protein, meats, milks, eggs, chickens, fish, whatever, as well as enough carbs and fats to have enough calories to be in a surplus, then you're never going to gain any muscle. But I think conclusive statement for this little chat, just go hard. And you can always go harder. That is, if you can get that in your mind, that you can always do more than you're doing, then you're really just setting yourself up for success, man. The guy who's going to plateau is the dude who's like, I like this split a lot. This is as good as it gets for me. I'll just keep doing like this. Same intensity every lift, not trying new shit, just, grinding the grindstone, but not really sharpening anything. Right? So, take with that what you will. I feel like I'm getting a little rambly. I think I'm a little bit dehydrated. I need to get some electrolytes in my system stat. But keep doing your cardio if you're doing it. Keep hitting your lifts, track your macros, fucking watch some shows or whatever to get you hyped up. That's the end of it. I'll freaking see you tomorrow for arms.